advantage of University of Waterloo. It has plenty of on-campus job options. University of Waterloo was an obvious choice when it comes to engineering part. In University of Waterloo, we don't have anything called as a CGPA or a GPA. When I applied, there was no requirement for a GRE score. Got the admit on my birthday. I personally did not face much of the problem. If you are working off campus, there is a restriction of 20 hours per week, and your part-time income obviously comes out more than that $1,000. Every term, there is a career fair as well, which is exclusive to University of Waterloo students. Be very wise, stay very wise on your expenses side, be very true to your studies.
Hey everyone, welcome to College Dunia Study Abroad. This is Varun. Today we have Gursahib from Canada. He has pursued his Masters in Electrical and Computer Engineering from University of Waterloo. He has graduated in December 2020. So, hi Gursahib, welcome to College Dunia.
Hi, hello everyone, and thank you so much for the warm introduction.
Yeah. So can you introduce yourself for our viewers and talk a bit about your academic profile, starting from your 10th and 12th. I know you have really excellent background on starting from there,
Yeah, so I completed my 10th in 2013, long time ago. And after that, I was quite interested in the science stream. And then, I pursued non-medical in my 12th. And side by side, I prepared for competitive exams. And then I think I scored good grades in 12th. And then I went to Thapa University for my computer engineering. And it was a 4-year course, and I completed that in 2019. And after that, I got an internship during my college placements, and then with Siemens ETA, so I did a 6 months internship there, and then after the internship, I was given a full-time role there.
Nice.
So I worked there till 2021. After which I decided, okay, it's time to upskill myself, and then I decided that I'm going to pursue my grad studies. So in 2021 I started with my master's from University of Waterloo in electrical and computer engineering, and that was a very great experience. And then completed that in December 2022, and now I'm again working as a...
Oh, that's nice. So right now I think you're working at a company, Blue Key, I guess.
Yeah, I'm working there as a full stack developer.
Okay, so in a brief way, would you tell us why did you choose University of Waterloo, and what is the curriculum like? Is it easy or tough?
Yeah, so I would say that University of Waterloo was an obvious choice when it comes to engineering part, because I searched for universities around the world, particularly Canada, and University of Waterloo was one name that was popping up when you search for engineering. So that was my obvious choice. Regarding curriculum, yes, it's rigorous, because as I said, that University of Waterloo is known for their engineering programs. So yes, the curriculum is rigorous. But since I had prior experience in software engineering, the industry experience, it made it look a bit easier or comfortable for me.
Okay, so because of your exposure, it helped out a lot, I guess.
Yes. I kind of knew how to do certain things, so that made it easier. But I would still say that many of the students found it rigorous.
So would it be too tough for us Indians, given our rigorous curriculum during the undergrad?
I think that Indians would be really good at doing it. We have already been through a very rigorous process right after our 12th started.
Exactly.
So it looks quite comfortable there.
So May I know like what were your scores like during the time you were doing your masters until you graduated? By the time you graduated.
The scores during my masters.
Like by the time you graduated, like what was your CGPA or something?
Okay. So in University of Waterloo, we don't have anything called as a CGPA or a GPA. We measure the score or the progress in percentages. So I have
Mm-hmm.
ended with a score of around 90% in my masters. I would
Okay,
still
that's
say
nice.
that, yeah, because the thing was that since I got my internship during my studies, so I was more focused on my internship. But still, I think even if you're doing certain stuff, obviously you'll be working part time as well. Still, you will be able to score 90% fairly easily.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
if you are
still,
regular
like
in your curriculum.
yeah, as you mentioned, like managing everything and scoring such a good score, I think it is something commendable as well.
Thank you.
So coming about like the requirements and criteria, like what are the requirements and criteria to apply and get an admit into University of Waterloo?
Okay. So I would still say that the criteria kind of changes regularly. So it's best to, see the admission criteria for the particular program that the person is interested in. I would talk about electrical and computer engineering. So
Mm-hmm.
the time when I applied, there was no requirement for a GRE score. So I didn't give a
Okay.
GRE. Only IELTS score was required. So an IELTS score of I think 6.5 was the minimum criteria, but I would suggest don't focus on that minimum criteria. You should focus way higher than that. And along with that, since it's a course-based program, so your industry experience really matters.
Yeah.
So if someone is coming from the industry, the chances of admission increases.
Okay.
So
So it's like it depends on the SOPs and LORs as well, like showing your background and
yes,
your interests. I understand.
yeah. With this particular program, there's one additional thing called as a supplementary information form. Now, the thing is that when you create your candidate portal on the University of Waterloo, now this is a fairly simple form which has 2 to 3 questions that ask you about your relevant experience in the field. So you just need to answer those questions. That is the, I would say, additional thing with
Mm-hmm.
this application process.
Okay. Okay, got it. And like, which all universities did you apply for, and like, how many admits did you get out of them?
Okay, so I was pretty sure that I'm going to. So I shortlisted only. I applied for only 3 universities:
Hmm.
University of Waterloo, McGill University, and UBC. And I
Okay.
got an admit from U Waterloo. And then I was pretty sure that I would be doing my masters from these 3 universities only. That's why
Hmm.
I applied to only these three and nothing else, and not even in the US. So as soon as I got it from U Waterloo, it was pretty much decided that okay, that would be my choice.
So you didn't bother much about the other applications at all or
Yeah, yeah.
something?
This was the first admit I would say. I got the admit in by third week of March, which was
Hmm.
fairly good. So
Okay.
as in, yeah, I actually got the admit on my birthday. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's really interesting. Something sentimental, maybe.
Yeah, that I do remember. Yes.
That's nice. That's nice. So, like, circling back to this question again, like, on what basis, like, did you decide on applying to these 3 universities? Like, what were the criteria, or like, what were you looking for?
Okay, so I was pretty sure about what I was expecting from a master's degree. So my purpose was pretty much that I want to upskill myself. So
Hmm.
I chose only the universities that would provide me that computer engineering experience. So that was my point that these 3 universities were amongst the best in Canada. Of course, University of Toronto also comes, but the fees was
Yeah.
really on the higher side. So otherwise,
Okay.
I would have kept University of Toronto as well in my list. But
Yeah.
apart from that, these three universities stood up, and that was the only choice that I was pretty much sure about which
Y-
university offers the best engineering program.
Okay. So the basically you went with the curriculum and something that aligns to your interests.
Exactly. So if you notice carefully, these three universities come under three different provinces of Canada. So
Mm-hmm.
like McGill is in Quebec, UBC is in British Columbia, and University of Waterloo is in Ontario.
Is
Some
Ontario, yeah.
students, yeah, some students are very restrictive about the province they want to live in. That was not my restriction, so that's why I kind of searched around Canada about the best program.
So, so is the weather like too harsh? Because most of the students are too scared about the harsh weather of Canada, and like majority of them like don't prefer Canada for its cold temperatures and snow. And would you like to talk something about on it, like anything that you want to tell the viewers?
Yeah, actually, the weather is quite harsh, to be honest. As of today, if we talk, I think the weather is kind of minus 20 degrees in Waterloo. So,
Oh,
yeah,
that's really cold.
it's
But I
really
think
cold.
you're still in your sweatshirts. Is it like heater effect or something?
Yeah. Actually, inside in a closed environment, you won't feel anything. It's all insulated and good amount of heat is there. So you won't feel any cold, unlike India, where you have to wear things inside your home as well. But if you go out, yes, it does feel a bit harsh. But I think you get acclimatized to the weather fairly quickly. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, some people do get acclimatized fairly quickly, but some people do face a problem. I have met people who have been living there for 15 years and they're still not accustomed to that weather. And I personally did not face much of the problem. I think your winter gear is the most essential thing that you need to invest in. If you invest in a good winter gear, then there won't be any problem.
So no hesitation when it comes to winter gear. That's what you would say.
I would definitely say that would be your best investment. So never be frugal about that.
Yeah, that's something we'll keep in mind. And so I think like you have a really diverse professional experience during your time at Waterloo. Like I think you worked for different groups or different job roles, you know. Like can you talk about it? Like can you tell us like what you were doing? Were there like internships or like what is it?
So I kind of started with regular part-time jobs that all the students start with. So the thing was, I first did my part-time job at Walmart. I started with that. Now it was an off-campus position, and slowly and steadily I moved to on-campus positions. So the
Okay.
reason for that was that one, there is more, the on-campus positions give you more flexibility according to your study schedule. So if you
Mm-hmm.
need break or if you need, holiday on a certain days where you have exams or assignments or something like that,
Yeah.
they give you that flexibility. So I moved to more on-campus positions.
Right.
So everything that you see on my profile, those are simply the part-time jobs. And then I landed with my internship eventually. That was in my field, so software engineering. So it took me about, how much, 9 months or so to land up there. But yeah, so
I think
everything
it's a
else was
pretty
just
fast
part time.
journey given what you've been explaining from the off-campus to
Mhm.
that, like ending up in a software internship. I think that's one hell of a journey, and I think it was hectic, I guess.
It was hectic at the start, but as we say that you have to keep that perseverance going. So I was pretty
So,
sure that I
So
would be
never
able
give
to
up.
land a job. Never give up. I mean, definitely. If you're coming to Canada, that is one thing that you have to keep in mind.
So, like we're talking about the part times, like how are the part time job pays? Like, what's the pay range? And so you worked off campus. So, at the same time, we would like to know, like, what's the number of hours that you can work, like on campus, off campus? Is there any restriction? Is it legal to work off campus? Can you just talk about it?
Yeah. Okay. So the simple rule says that if you are working off campus, there is a restriction of 20 hours per week. But if you're working on campus, there's no restriction on
On
your working
campus.
hours. Yes, there is no restriction. Ideally, your graduate department or let's say your undergrad department, your department may intervene in between that how much time are you spending on your part-time jobs versus your studies. They
Okay.
don't want you to, so if there is no restriction, a person can even go for 100-hour work week, but then the department would intervene that you may not
Okay.
be focusing on your studies and you are focusing on your job, so please restrict your hours. But
It's like yaar
legally,
pad le.
per day, exactly. But if you say from an immigration point of view, there's no restriction as such on campus
Okay.
jobs.
That's nice. And I'm sure this will be a really jealous kind of news for people who are going to the USA because it's other way around.
Yeah,
I think you're familiar with it.
even even in Canada. So now again, another advantage of University of Waterloo, it has plenty of on-campus job options. If
Okay.
someone goes to a college, in a college there are very restrictive on-campus jobs. So that's why people go for off-campus more, and then they're
Mhm.
bound to the 20-hour limit. But with universities, since there are a lot of departments, the amount of on-campus opportunities increase. That is
Okay.
another advantage of a university.
So how's the competition for these on-campus jobs? Is it like really easy for everyone to end up with a on-campus part-time job, or like it's like a kind of a competition that you run for?
So actually, it depends upon the skill level of a person. So I would give an example. I have worked in the food services as well. That is the
Oh,
most basic job that I think almost 70% of students do that
yeah.
job.
I think
And
I can
then I
relate with you.
was,
I did the same.
yeah. So, and then I also worked at the rock climbing gym. So we have a rock climbing facility there. I worked there as well. But
Oh,
if you
interesting.
consider that thing, then the requirement changes. So you have to be physically fit in order to be able to work there.
Hmm.
And you need to be
Okay.
comfortable with that kind of environment. So heights and some risk factor also involved. So again, the pay also changes accordingly.
So based
So
on the work, you get the pay, I
based
guess.
on the work, yeah.
Can you give an average number, like let's say a base pay of on-campus job and a base pay of off-campus job per hour,
Okay,
or how
so
is the pay?
as of current day, the minimum wage is at 15 and a half in Ontario. For the Ontario, I'm not sure about other provinces. So this is the pay that you are guaranteed to get wherever you work, right?
Hmm.
And then the pay changes according to the skill that is required. So I would expect a student to expect somewhere around 15 to 17 for their first job. Because
Okay.
when you're doing your first job, you will not be focused upon a particular thing. You will just be focused upon,
S-
okay, get a job first
So it's
to manage
15 to
things.
17 Canadian dollars per hour.
Canadian dollars per
Per
hour,
hour.
yes.
Okay.
When you land up your first job, then you upskill yourself, you search for more opportunities, and then you can aim higher as well. So 17 to 20, then that range comes.
So it
And
keeps
if you go
increasing
for
as
it
as
keeps
we proceed.
increases.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So let us talk a little bit about your like cost of living and university expenses. As you mentioned, some universities are pretty expensive. So how did you manage your university expenses at Waterloo, like your tuitions or like even your cost of living? So let's first come to your tuitions, like university expenses. How did you manage a loan or something like? Can you explain us?
Yeah. So, very thankfully, I did not get any loan. So, I had my savings
Acha.
from my work, and then I got the remaining from my parents. So, thankfully, I did not have a need to take a loan. But yeah, many of my friends and other students also take a loan, and then they repay that off from their part-time income as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely these are two methods. Self-funded, like prefer going self-funded, because then you don't have that pressure of repaying anything, and then you can
Yeah.
focus more on your work.
Agreed. And like, so in terms of cost of living, what is an average monthly cost of living? Like, how much a person would spend on an average? And then, like, let us talk about how much did you spend? Like, what were your expenses, rent and groceries? Can you explain us a little bit on it?
Sure, sure. So let us talk about the city of Waterloo only. Waterloo is relatively cheap as compared to other cities. So an average rent of one room, in city of Waterloo for 1 month would be around 700 to 800 Canadian dollars.
Okay.
This amount has increased and is increasing as well. So I was paying around 600 when I came, but now
Okay.
the
So it's a
prices have
shared room
gone
or
up.
like,
It depends. For a single room, it's 700 to 800. For a shared room, it would be half that.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay. And that's just the rent. Uh,
that's just the rent. And then on
okay.
top of that, usually the utilities are included. So your Wi-Fi or your, water bill, the
Mm-hmm.
electricity bill is separate.
Okay.
Laundry bill are also, included. So,
So
mm,
on an average, like how much like by the end of the month, इतना खर्चा होता है. Like on an average, how much does it happen? Like how much do you think it would happen for a general regular student, like, with all the
okay.
basic needs?
So let us run down to 700 rent, and
Mm-hmm.
then let's say $50 for utilities on top of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So 750, and then you can take around 200 for groceries. And
Okay.
200 is a very generous amount. You can
Okay.
even manage in 150. I'm just going with a very generous amount that
Okay.
you'll eat somewhere out
Yeah,
as well and things like that.
it's good to have a buffer.
It's good to have a buffer. So 750 plus 200 comes down to 950, and then 50 additional for anything that happens. So I would say you can survive easily in $1,000 Canadian dollars
Okay.
in city of
Okay.
Waterloo. That
Okay.
is, yeah, that is one point. Other cities, Toronto, Brampton, these are expensive cities. So the price of your accommodation goes up, your price of your groceries go up.
Yeah.
So that's what happens.
Got it. Every area it keeps changing, obviously.
Yes.
So what were your expenses? Let's talk about you. Like, did you spend just $1,000 or like, as you explained over the period, you started earning more and more. If you take my case, as I started earning more, I spent more. So is it like, how
Obviously.
is it with you? How much did you
So
spend? Or like,
similar
were you
thing.
living like, were you living like paycheck to paycheck or how?
No, 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 nothing like. There was never a situation when I lived paycheck to paycheck. I I had very controlled expenses when I started with everything. So when I was working off campus as well, and when I was working on, when I just started with my job. So I was never paycheck to paycheck. I had very controlled expenses. Never used to go out eat, and so I always used to cook myself. and
Oh,
manage everything. Yeah, so it was never paycheck to paycheck, but then again, when the pay increased and when I got more jobs, then of course the expenses increased. So I would say that that's why I gave that figure of $1,000, that you will be able to survive fairly well if you
mhm.
keep that $1,000 in mind. And your part-time income obviously comes out more than that $1,000.
Okay.
So I would say that don't think about managing the fees when if you talk about University of Waterloo, because no matter how hard you work, you will never be able to pay off the fees from the part-time work. So
Yeah.
don't even think about that when you are studying. Think about that when you have done with your studies and when you're working full time. So that is
Yeah.
one important point.
Okay. Coming to the placements and internships, does the university help the students in securing any internships and full-time jobs like placement, any resources or any events or anything that helps the students to get the jobs?
Sure. So ours was not a co-op program. A co-op in simple terms is an internship. So, but I think from this particular batch, or I think the last batch, the 2022 fall batch, the co-op has been introduced in this same program. So students
Okay.
have now more advantage of securing their internship during their studies, right? There would be a mandatory internship term where actually the university provides resources and kind of helps to get that internship. But other than that, I think University of Waterloo does provide resources to other students as well. So we also had so there was a portal on which several employers would post the job openings, and then we can access that portal and apply through that. I got my
Okay.
part-time internship through the same portal.
Okay.
So yeah, the university does provide that resource. Also, I think every term there is a career fair as well, which is exclusive to University of Waterloo students and other students in the Waterloo area. So that is another thing that is organized by University
Okay.
of Waterloo. Yeah,
Okay, that's nice. That's nice. So it's kind of student friendly in terms of securing jobs and helping them out with the resources then.
definitely, definitely. I mean, it now depends upon you how
Uh,
skilled you are. The university provides
and how you use
resources.
the resources, I guess. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, like, what are the future perspectives in, securing a full-time job after you complete your course? Like, let's talk about your course only, electrical and computer engineering. So, once you graduate, what percentage of probability that you end up with a job? Like, can you give
Um,
a estimate number?
uh, I mean, it's hard to give an estimate, but I can tell you the factors on which it depends. Now, as I said that the engineering program is amongst the best in University of Waterloo, so you learn a lot and you get industry ready.
Yeah.
For you basically get industry ready, but on top of that, you need to work hard specifically for your interviews. I'm talking
Okay.
about only the software industry. So you need to build some personal projects. You need to develop your coding skills more to
Hmm.
secure a job. So I would say that it's nothing like a probability kind of thing. It's more of how skilled you are. If you're
Yeah.
skilled enough, you will definitely get a job. So 100% probability. But if you are not skilled enough, then it's luck based. Even if you land up in an interview, still there's a probability that you may not secure that job.
So, so I would take it as there are enough opportunities, but it all depends on how you work towards it.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
okay, that's nice. So, uh, another thing, like, what are the average salaries that can be expected after completing the course from University of Waterloo?
Well, there's nothing like an average salary after you complete from Waterloo, it's mostly depends upon the role that you're doing. So an average salary for a software developer will differ from an average salary of a data scientist,
Yeah,
right?
so I'm sorry, my question is
Yeah.
towards your course, electrical and computer engineering. So
Yeah.
one, if someone completes their course from electrical and computer engineering, what would be an average salary that they can expect if they end up with a job?
Okay. So on average, if we see that for software engineering, it's around 75,000 Canadian dollars annually.
Mm-hmm.
That's the current industry average. But again, if you are skilled enough, you can land up in a more than 100K job as well.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
So, like, can you share like one of your nice good experience and one of your bad experiences during your time at Waterloo, like with our viewers, like something that you want to share, like.
Sure. So the best part about University of Waterloo and the city of Waterloo particularly is that the environment is really great. So we have one another university which is Wilfrid Laurier University right next to University of Waterloo, and then there's Conestoga College as well. So it's very student friendly area. In the markets as well, you'll see mostly students, and so it's kind of very in a funky term, the vibe is really nice of the city. And since there it's a student area, so it's always something is happening around. University of Waterloo is organizing some
Yeah.
events, or the other university organizing events, so you can move around. There are, if someone is fan of clubbing, there are clubs as well, so you can
So is it
go
anything
there.
like a party school or something?
University of Waterloo, no. But yeah, but we do enjoy a lot. Like the undergrad students organize a lot of events, so it's always something's happening in the University of Waterloo or in the city of Waterloo. uh, Traffic is not a problem here. The air is really good, clean,
Mm-hmm.
fresh environment, so
Yeah.
everything is nice about it. If you like a very, you know, if you're not a big city person, you will love Waterloo region. But if you're a big city person, you will not find tall buildings and skyscrapers and things like that. So
Okay.
then you may not like that much.
So any bad experiences you had, something you would remember and you want to share?
Well, I have been fortunate that I didn't have any bad experience during my work, particularly. I would not say I had a particular bad experience, but I would say that okay, I had a very tough time managing the stuff. So it would really get overwhelming sometimes when there are assignments lined up, and but you have to go to work because you have your shift coming up. So that was a really, and then when I was also in a pressure to search for my industry job, so that was a very overwhelming time, I would say, but nothing particular that, so no one experience that I would say really bad or something like that. It just gets overwhelming sometimes.
Okay, got it. So, would you like to share anything or any advice to our viewers who are like planning for their study abroad?
I would really say that be very wise, stay very wise on your expenses side, because if you start spending money, then you kind of lose the track of it. So be very wise with your money things, and be very wise with your curriculum as well. Be very true to your studies. If you're coming for a particular program, be very particular about that. Also, do keep in mind the requirements for the job as well. Your program may not prepare you 100% for the job. So
Okay.
always look at the job description or the job requirement of the role that you want to be in, and then prepare those skills side by side. Take half an hour or 1 hour from your day to prepare yourself for those skills. If you do that along with your studies, then when your studies get over, the chances of you getting a job increases. So try to
That's
manage
nice.
these things. Yeah. And don't just try to, as I said earlier as well, don't just try to manage fees from your part-time study, the part from a part-time work, sorry. The
Yeah,
part-time
so
work
it's
is just
basically
there.
focus on what you've come for
Yeah.
rather than
Focus
earning
on
something.
exactly.
That's
If you're doing
something
a
really good, Nitin.
if you're doing a 1 year or 2 year program, I think that it's wise to focus on your studies first and then think about paying off your loan. I know it gets really tough when you
Yeah,
have that the amount pending, but if you work on your skills, that will pay off more than what you even expect. So
yeah. Well, those were some really nice insights that you provided us today, and a lot of information about University of Waterloo. Thank you so much for that, and I really wish all the best for your future endeavors as well. And thank you so much.